Part 28. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 278. In the peaceful and rapid growth of the immortal realm, more than 4,000 years passed by. During this period, the shadows of dark creatures appearing in the boundary sea became more and more frequent. However, the appearance of the dark creatures did not occur on a large scale, and there was no attempt to approach the immortal realm. However, the forces in the immortal realm secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, this kind of invisible pressure cannot be dissipated just because the dark creatures have not invaded. All the creatures in the immortal realm know that the dark turmoil at the end of the world sea will come one day. During this period, they must do their best to continuously enhance their own foundation. Of course, not all giants in the immortal realm are confident that they can withstand the next wave of dark turmoil. There are many immortal king-level giants who went to the boundary sea to look for older giants, but never returned once they entered the boundary sea. In this regard, Kinyu Immortal Lord and others did not say much. Even if those people are forced to stay, it will not be of any benefit to the immortal realm. It is better to let them leave now than in the future, when there will be more rebellions when resisting the dark turmoil. Of course, it is impossible to announce this kind of thing in a big way, so as not to disturb the morale of the immortal domain army. Immortal realm, the boundary of Gon realm, in a splendid fairy palace. A powerful immortal king-level giant was sitting cross-legged in meditation, surrounded by billions of immortal lights. With every breath, massive laws of heaven and earth surged. This person is the giant immortal king who replaced the former immortal lord of Kun realm and became the lord of Kun realm. The outside world calls him Balan Immortal King. Because Immortal King Balan has the bloodline of the ancient immortal Kylan in his body, his combat power is enough to dominate among the immortal kings. If his bloodline is fully awakened, he will be a supreme giant who can rival the real dragon, immortal, and phoenix. Who? Suddenly, Immortal King Balan opened his eyes, and a violent and destructive murderous aura swept across and exploded like a hurricane. In an instant, this glorious immortal palace was completely sealed, and even time could not flow. Not bad, it seems that you haven't slacked off in your cultivation these years. An old voice that seemed to be praising resounded from the void. Immortal King Balan used the law of Kanyu to suppress the forbidden void, and it was actually broken easily. Then, a man wearing ancient battle robes, the old man with white beard and hair, walked out of the void. Ancestor. The moment he saw the old man in the shirt, Immortal King Balan's eyes shrank as sharply as needles, and he couldn't help but exclaimed. Because this old man in the shirt was the pure-blooded unicorn who became the immortal king when he was an immortal, and he had the power and the supreme power of real dragon fighting. Ever since he went to the boundary sea to explore the imperial road, Immortal King Balan thought that his ancestor had encountered something unexpected. But he did not expect that his ancestor would actually appear alive today. And from this monstrous battle, judging from my strength, I am afraid that my cultivation level has reached a terrifying level that is enough to compete with the immortal lord. Ancestor, why are you back all of a sudden? After carefully sensing and confirming the bloodline fluctuations, Immortal King Balan stood up and stepped forward in great excitement. The immortal realm is about to be destroyed, so we old guys naturally have to come back and take a look. The old immortal King Kylan smiled and sat on the main seat. Are there any other old-timers coming back? When Immortal King Balan heard this, his eyes suddenly brightened. If all the immortal kings who come back have the same level of cultivation as their ancestors, it will definitely increase the power of the immortal domain greatly. However, I am not waiting to come back this time to deal with the dark turmoil in the boundary sea. Looking at Immortal King Balan, the old immortal King Kylan said something shocking. Not to resist the dark turmoil? Why? Immortal King Balan's smile froze. For the origin and inheritance of the fairyland. The old Kylan Immortal King said calmly. When Balan Immortal King heard this, his expression gradually became solemn. Now is the turbulent moment in the immortal realm. His ancestor is waiting for the return of the older immortal king, but not only does he not want to fight against the dark turmoil, he is also coveting the origin and inheritance of the immortal realm. If it were gone, what would be the use of inheriting the origin of the immortal realm? Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 279. You don't think that with the current foundation of the immortal realm, you can really stop the dark creatures of the boundary sea, right? Seeing the expression of immortal King Balan, the old immortal King Kylan still had a calm tone, but there was an inexplicable meaning in his words. The dark turmoil thousands of years ago, although the vitality of the fairy land was greatly damaged. But now in the immortal realm, there are three people who are about to be promoted to the quasi-immortal emperor. It is not impossible to stop the chaos in the boundary sea. Immortal King Bailin pondered for a while, and spoke without concealing anything. The three people he mentioned naturally refer to Immortal King Taixuan, Immortal King Kang Long, and Qin Hao. Among these three, the one who has the most hope of defeating the king and becoming emperor, the first person should be Qin Hao. After all, Qin Hao has already touched the quasi-immortal emperor level thousands of years ago, and he should be able to become a quasi-immortal emperor with just one opportunity. Although the dark creatures in the world sea are indeed a huge threat. But if one or several quasi-immortal emperors are born in the immortal realm, that is not necessarily the case. They will definitely not be able to fight against the dark turmoil of the boundary sea. As far as I know, there are at least 5 quasi-immortal emperor-level giants on the other side of the boundary sea. When the old Kylan immortal king heard this, he laughed and told something astonishing. 5 quasi-immortal emperors. Immortal King Bailin was stunned. Although he knew that there were dark creatures at the level of quasi-immortal emperors at the end of the world sea, he never thought that there would be as many as 5. 5 quasi-immortal emperors, what is that concept? Foreign ones. The background is not necessarily weaker than that of the immortal realm, but it was completely destroyed in the battle between the 2 quasi-immortal emperors. If 5 quasi-immortal emperors come to the immortal realm, then even if 3 quasi-immortal emperors are born in the immortal realm emperor, the creatures in the immortal realm will definitely be unable to escape. More importantly, whether Qin Hao and the others can set foot on the quasi-immortal emperor is still a matter of two minds. In the past, those dark quasi-immortal emperors had been sleeping and did not pay attention to the immortal realm. However, there were repeated fluctuations in the immortal realm that impacted the quasi-immortal emperors, awakening those dark quasi-immortal emperors. Therefore, no matter how hard you struggle, immortal realm is destined to be unable to escape this disaster. Our clan doesn't have much bloodline left. You are not so stupid as to let the bloodline be completely cut off. The old Kylan immortal king followed closely and said, "Do you mean to take the rest of the tribe and escape into the boundary sea and shattered universe?" said immortal King Balan. "Yes, only in this way can we avoid such destruction and killing, but before that, we must get the origin inheritance of the fairy land." The old Kylan immortal king nodded and said. "Why?" immortal King Bailin asked. "There are 2 reasons. One is to prevent the immortal inheritance from being cut off, and the other is that the origin inheritance contains the secret to attack the quasi-immortal emperor. For so many years, they have been controlling the origin and inheritance, but they have never been able to defeat the king and become the emperor. Now it is time to change the master." The old immortal King Kylan did not hide his selfishness and spoke very frankly. "Ancestor, what are you going to do?" After hearing the words, immortal King Balan was silent for a long time and made a decision. It must be said that the words of the old immortal King Kylan also had a huge temptation for immortal King Balan. When setting foot in the realm of the quasi-immortal emperor, no immortal king can withstand such temptation confused. In addition to you, there will be people from the Suan, Dui, and Gen regions to persuade us. I conservatively estimate that at least 2 people will join us. After their discussion was over, we divided our forces into 2 groups, one to go to the Qian domain to find the Taixuan immortal king hidden in the Qian domain, and the other to the Daoyi Holy Land. According to our investigation, these 2 places are most likely to have hidden origins and inheritance. Old immortal King Kailan spoke calmly. It was obvious that he had already made a detailed plan when he returned to the immortal realm. Immortal King Taixuan on the side of Kinyu Immortal Lord is okay, but Immortal King Dayi of Dayi Holy Land left the immortal realm thousands of years ago without any news. If the origin inheritance is in Dayi Immortal King, then the matter of seizing the origin inheritance may fail. Immortal King Bailin thought for a while and said slowly. He also quite agreed with his ancestors' words. Although Immortal King Taixuan is not well known in the immortal realm, in recent years, it can be said to be unparalleled among the giants of the immortal king level. People don't know. In the era of the emperors, they worshipped under the immortal emperor's section during the dark turmoil. They used the immortal emperor's ancient treasure to suppress the dark quasi-immortal emperor. There may indeed be an origin inheritance in him. As for Daoyi immortal King Qin Hao, he has been practicing for less than a short time. After 10,000 years, he has reached the top of the immortal king realm and touched the quasi-immortal emperor level. More importantly, the Xian Huang universe that Qin Hao came from was created by the 9 Deaths immortal king and Kangsheng immortal king who rebelled against the immortal realm in the past universe. The origin inheritance of the immortal realm was taken away by the 9 Death immortal king and others, and his whereabouts have been unknown since then. Therefore, Qin Hao has the possibility of origin inheritance, even above the Taixuan immortal king. It was because the Daoyi immortal king could not be found that he decided to take down the Daoyi Holy Land. Said the old immortal King Kailan. After that, the 2 discussed again and sent the people away from the immortal realm. Not long after, messages came from several major realms in the immortal realm. In addition to Kinyu, Kunyu, Li outside the territory, the immortals in the other 5 realms all chose to rebel. Do it. A few days later, the 5 great immortal lords, who were right and proper, and their respective powerful men, divided their forces into 2 groups. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 280. In the realm of Qian, in the glorious fairy palace. The immortal Lord Kinyu, who was meditating with his eyes closed and comprehending the Taoism of the immortal king, frowned slightly and opened his eyes. Why do you always feel like something bad is going to happen? Kinyu immortal Lord murmured to himself, and the inexplicable uneasiness in his heart lingered. As a top immortal king giant, Kinyu immortal Lord naturally knew that this must be some kind of ominous premonition. Immortal light flashed, immortal Lord Kinyu appeared on the top of the immortal palace and used secret methods to manifest the movements of the boundary sea. Although shadows of dark creatures occasionally appeared, the boundary sea was still calm and there was no sign of dark turmoil. Could it be that something will happen to Taixuan immortal king? Thinking of this, immortal Lord Kinyu looked at the secret realm where immortal King Taixuan was retreating, and couldn't hide his worry. After all, when immortal King Taixuan was at his peak, he tried to attack the immortal emperor realm, but failed. Serious Tao injuries were left in the body. This dark turmoil, and the Faho who fought against the dark quasi-emperor, went into seclusion directly. Compared to Kang Long immortal king and Qin Hao, Kinyu immortal lord was more worried about Taixuan immortal king. If he goes into seclusion again this time, Taixuan immortal king may not be able to retreat safely. The promotion of the emperor realm, even to the quasi-immortal emperor, is extremely dangerous. If you are not careful, you will be irreversible and completely destroyed. The path of death disappeared. Boom. At this moment, Terrifying pressures of Taoism appeared everywhere in the Kinyu realm. In the blink of an eye, with the Kinyu Immortal Palace as the center, a boundless sky-covering magic circle soared into the sky. Rise up, seal the sky and lock the earth, shocking the world with murderous intent. What happened? Could it be that another dark turmoil broke out in the boundary sea? No, this is the fluctuation of the fairyland law. Someone in the immortal realm takes action against us. In the realm of Kinyu, countless immortal cultivators reacted and immediately gathered towards the Kinyu Immortal Palace. Immortal Lord. In the Kinyu Immortal Palace, dozens of core immortal king giants have already appeared in front of the Kinyu Immortal Lord. Someone is having trouble. Kinyu Xianzun frowned slightly, and the uneasiness in his heart disappeared at this moment. This also made Kinyu Xianzun understand that the unknown premonition in his heart had found the source. But Kinyu Xianzun couldn't figure it out. The most important thing is, at this critical moment when dark creatures are watching, who will launch civil strife at this time? What will be their purpose? What happened? What about the rest? After that, two rays of immortal light came through the sky, and they were the immortal Lord of Kunyu and the immortal Lord of Liu. They were also quite puzzled, and they had no idea what was going on in the killing formation in front of them. Since he didn't come, he was rebelling. There was a bone-chilling chill in the voice of Kinyu Immortal Lord. At that moment, he immediately used a secret method to notify other immortals to come and gather. But the only people who came were Kunyu Immortal Lord and Liu Immortal Lord. This has already happened. No need to say more. This breath. When the Liu Immortal was about to speak, his expression suddenly moved slightly, and he looked up intently. I saw figures above the sky that were shocking to the heavens and the earth. There were only less than 100 people, but they had the momentum of thousands of troops. Especially the dozen or so people headed by them, each of them has the unparalleled courage to kill the same immortal king. Kylin Immortal King. White Crane Immortal King. Nine Swords Immortal King. The Immortal King of Wanquan. Among the 10 people, there are 4 figures, and their auras are obviously much stronger than those of the other immortal king giants. Even the 3 immortal lords of Kinyu feel chills in their hearts. Of course, as the senior immortal king of the immortal realm, Kinyu the 3 immortal kings immediately recognized the 4 immortal kings. These 4 immortal kings can be said to be the oldest giants of immortal kings after the era of emperors. They are enough to compare with the 9 Death Immortal King and others. Immortal King Xiantian, long time no see. Among the dozen or so immortal kings, the 9 Swords Immortal King, who was armed with 9 ancient swords and surrounded by billions of sword energies, looked at the immortal Lord Kinyu and said calmly. His tone seemed to be talking about a junior. As for the Xiantian Immortal King he mentioned, it is the Kinyu Immortal Lord. What do you want to do? Could it be that he has rebelled against the dark creatures? Kinyu Immortal Lord's eyes were slightly cold, and he wanted to find out the intentions of 9 Swords Immortal King and others. There is no need to label me, but you should be able to sense whether there is rebellion in the darkness, right? The 9 Swords Immortal King still looked calm. We want something, and if Immortal King Xiantian is willing to hand it over, we don't want to fight each other. The Immortal King of the Underworld, who was wearing an ancient immortal robe and with a vague underworld flowing above his head, also spoke. You want the origin inheritance of the immortal realm. The eyes of immortal Lord Kinyu became colder, and he vaguely guessed the intentions of these ancient immortal kings. Apart from the inheritance of origin, he really couldn't think of any other reason why these ancient immortal kings who had not rebelled against the immortal realm, such a joint action. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 281. Clever. The White Crane Immortal King, who was standing on a crane, said with some admiration. It is said that those who know the current affairs are heroes. Xiantian Immortal King, can you tell where the origin and inheritance is? Old immortal King Kylan followed and said. What about the Shura immortal king and the four spirits immortal king? Didn't he return from the boundary sea with you? After the Kinyu immortal lord pondered for a moment, he glanced at the giant immortal king who arrived and asked again. For these older generation of immortal kings who returned from the boundary sea, it was naturally impossible for the Kinyu immortal lord to know anything. He originally thought, these people came back to help the immortal realm, but they didn't expect that they actually wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of the situation. The investigation is quite clear, so you might as well guess where the two of them are now. Seeing the appearance of Kinyu immortal lord, Kylan immortal king laughed. As he spoke, Kylan immortal king and others were already filled with bone-chilling murderous intent. Those giants of immortal kings who followed were also kings. The surge caused the whole world to violently turmoil, with a faint feeling of collapse. Tao Yi Holy Land. The immortal Lord Kinyu looked at the Kylan immortal king and others who had murderous intentions. He did not speak, but an idea had already appeared in his mind. As for whose hand the origin and inheritance of the immortal realm belongs to, this is not the case in today's immortal realm. Is still a mystery. But the most likely one is Daoyi immortal king of Daoyi Holy Land. Kill. Seeing that the Kinyu immortal lord had no intention of speaking, the Kylan immortal king stopped delaying and immediately ordered an attack. Boom. It was like thunder exploding, and all the creatures in the Kinyu realm felt the biting chill, and felt a kind of horror. Heart palpitations. The 100 immortal king-level giants immediately rushed down like a torrent with a monstrous killing blow. Buzz. At this moment, the Kinyu immortal master formed seals with his hands, and a mysterious and unpredictable Taoism filled the air. The entire Kinyu immortal palace trembled slightly at this moment. A mysterious ancient formation was condensed at this moment, and the Taoism it exuded was enough to make the hearts of the immortal king realm tremble. The hundreds of immortal kings who came to charge were all greatly affected. The pressure felt like being trapped in a mud swamp, and all the faces changed drastically. Sixth Palace Trapped Immortal Formation. Kylan immortal king and others recognized the ancient formation at a glance. Without any hesitation, they immediately divided into 6 people and fled to 6 directions. Looking at that appearance, it was obvious that they were going to break through the 6 palaces entrapment immortal formation. Point of formation. That should be the sky shielding formation. I'm here to hold them back. You guys can break through the formation as soon as possible. Kinyu immortal lord said to Kunyu immortal lord and Liu immortal lord, and immediately led the dozens of core immortal kings into the 6th palace trapped immortal formation. That blockade blocked the entire Kinyu immortal palace. The ancient magic circle that prevents other immortal kings from entering should be the long-lost sky shielding magic circle. If it weren't for the fact that just in case, the time and space marks were left on the bodies of the Kunyu immortal, Liu immortal and others. If so, I'm afraid that at this time, the immortal lord of Kinyu can only fight this battle alone. Therefore, as long as the sky-covering magic circle is broken, other immortal king-level giants in the immortal realm will be aware of this battle and send in assistance. Although the Kylan immortal king and others are strong, it is impossible for just 100 immortal kings to fight against the entire immortal realm. Regarding the actions of the Kunyu immortal lord and the Liu immortal lord, the Kylan immortal king and others do not seem to care at all. They just concentrated on attacking the positions of the trapped immortal formation. Kinyu immortal lord and others had already launched a fierce fight with Belan immortal king and other giants, and the violent destruction of the immortal laws shattered the world. This is the expressions on the faces of the Kunyu immortal lord and the Liu immortal lord, who were escaping at extremely high speeds, flew close to the sky-covering magic circle. I saw 10 immortal kings in each position of the sky-covering formation, guarded by supreme barriers. But what really changed the color of Kunyu immortal lord and the two was that there were ancient talismans suspended at those formation points. Those mysterious ancient talismans all contain the supreme aura of the quasi-immortal emperor. Kylan Immortal King and others actually used ancient talismans containing the power of the quasi-immortal emperor to create this sky-covering formation. In this way, even if the two of them control the laws of the immortal realm, it is impossible to break through this magic circle. After a while, Immortal Lord Kinyu also learned the news, his heart sank, and his murderous aura became even more intense. When civil strife broke out in the Kinyu Immortal Palace, a war also broke out in the Janai realm. Xianhuan Universe, Taoyi Holy Land. Boom! The deafening laws violently bombarded and resounded continuously, shaking the entire Xianhuan universe. Countless creatures in the universe fled to avoid being involved. With such a terrifying momentum, it is obvious that an immortal king-level giant is attacking. How is this going? Why did Janai Immortal Lord suddenly lead people to attack the Holy Land? In Dayi Holy Land, there is an immortal king who has worshipped in the Holy Land. His face is solemn and he is muttering to himself strangely. Since the rise of Dayi Immortal King Qin Hao, the entire immortal domain has been vaguely respected by Dayi Holy Land. Now suddenly, the new Janai Immortal Lord came to attack with dozens of immortal kings. This was naturally confusing. The teleportation array of Kinyu Immortal Palace has failed, and I am afraid something has happened to Kinyu Immortal Lord. Among the core monks of Daoyi Holy Land, Zhang Taishu, Zhou Yang, Qin Yiyi, and others have all appeared. Of course, although the situation at hand seems critical, Daoyi Holy Land is not in much danger. I thought that in Daoyi Holy Land, protected by the innate 5-square flag left by Qin Hao, even an immortal king-level giant would have difficulty breaking through the barrier of the Holy Land. Unexpectedly, before the boundary sea was in turmoil again, the immortal territory was the first to experience civil strife. At this moment, a plain voice spread from somewhere in the Holy Land, and then, a Dharma body condensed by laws came through the air. That Dharma body was none other than Qin Hao. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 282. Big Brother. Master. Zhou Yang, Qin Fengxiu, Qin Yiyi, and others quickly came forward to greet them. Meet the Immortal King. Up and down Dayi Holy Land, millions of immortal cultivators saluted respectfully. The originally turbulent atmosphere immediately calmed down. Senior brother, there are many unfamiliar faces among these people, they seem to be the elder immortal kings who have returned from the Boundary Sea. Zhou Yang told Qin Hao the information that he had already found out clearly. In addition to the new immortal lord of the Janai realm and the immortal king of the immortal realm, there are also more than a dozen giant immortal kings with unknown origins. Of course, you have to guess their origins. It is not difficult. If there is no dark aura in the body, it means that it is a dark creature. The only possibility is those ancient immortal kings who went to the Boundary Sea early to look for opportunities to become emperors. It should be passed down from its origin. Qin Hao smiled and had already guessed the reason for the rebellion of the immortal kings. This was because he was not optimistic about the prospects of the immortal realm and wanted to make a fortune and leave before the immortal realm was destroyed. After saying this, Qin Hao stepped into the air. Out of the boundary of the Xiantian 5 directions flags. The hundreds of immortal kings who had been condensing the law-killing technique of destroying the heaven and the earth and continuously attacking the Taoist Holy Land suddenly stopped. Dayi Immortal King. What happened? Is he in Dayi Holy Land? Seeing Qin Hao stepping out calmly, many giants in the immortal realm couldn't help but change their expressions. Whether it was the battle of darkness and turmoil, the battle of destruction in a foreign land, or the sermons of the past, it all showed that Qin Hao with his cultivation level, it is very possible that he has come into contact with the quasi-immortal emperor. What are you panicking about? He is just a Dharmakaya. A ferocious man with the vision of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood all around him said coldly. At a glance, he could see Qin Hao's reality. This man is the Shura immortal king who can stand shoulder to shoulder with giants such as the old immortal king Kylin. What a pity, if his true form were here, it would save us wasting time looking for him. Beside the Shura immortal king, an old man with white tigers on his feet and a blue dragon around him shook his head slightly. This old man is none other than the Four Spirits immortal king. In this separate operation, Kinyu Immortal Palace is the focus. Not only is it possible with the inheritance of the origin of the immortal realm, the Taixuan immortal king who has been in seclusion and attacking the emperor realm should not be underestimated. On the side of Daoyi Holy Land, it is much easier. After all, Qin Hao's body is not here, and he just broke through Daoyi Holy Land. Just find out the whereabouts of Qin Hao himself. Immortal King Daiyi, I won't talk nonsense. If you don't want the lives of your holy land to be ruined, tell me where your true identity is and then hand over your origin inheritance. The Shura immortal king stared at Qin Hao coldly, with that indifferent gaze, as if he was looking at a dead person. These elder immortal kings who have been training in the World Sea for countless years have already passed the peak of immortal king. Although they have not yet touched it. Going to the quasi-immortal emperor is enough to suppress the immortal king in the same realm. It sounds like you can break through my holy land formation. Qin Hao laughed softly after hearing this, not caring at all about the threat of immortal King Shura. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for waiting for you. Capture him. The Shura immortal king coldly ordered and did not take action. It was just a Dharma body, not worthy of his personal action. Boom. Immediately, the more than 100 immortal king giants immediately sent out their killing soldiers and surrounded and killed Qin Hao for a time. The heaven and earth shattered, the laws shook, and just the coercion caused the Xian Huang universe to collapse. Now, when Qin Hao saw this, he shouted low, and there was an overwhelming bright sword light, roaring and sweeping away. Around Qin Hao, 4 fairy swords containing supreme killing power appeared around him. Those who were waiting to attack where the sky was full of killings, and the moment they touched the fairy sword, they were all annihilated. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 283. Is this the rumored quasi-immortal emperor soldier? There are actually 4 handles. Seeing the 4 swords of Zuxian sacrificed by Qin Hao, immortal King Shura and the immortal King of 4 spirits all looked moved. They felt an indescribable sense of danger from the 4 swords of Zuxian, as if they were facing a quasi-immortal emperor. Array. Qin Hao sneered, and with a thought, the 4 swords of Zuxian turned into 4 rays of fairy light, distributed in 4 directions. Then, an ancient formation with shining fairy light appeared in the void, and together with the 4 swords of Zuxian, they turned into the supreme sword formation of monstrous destruction. Immortal King Shura, immortal King of 4 spirits, and hundreds of rebellious immortal kings are all trapped in the endless killing formation. What kind of sword formation is this? Such a terrifying aura, I feel like I will be killed at any time. No, we must break through this killing formation, otherwise we will all die. When the Zuxian sword formation trembled slightly, and wisps of destructive sword energy filled the air. Those immortal king realm giants could not sit still, and attacked with supreme killing skills. But unfortunately, all this was in vain. All of them the law attack, the moment it came into contact with the immortal killing sword Qi, was all chopped into pieces. This frightened the giants of the immortal kings even more. Even the Shura immortal king and the 4 spirits immortal king couldn't help it. Discoloration, expression extremely solemn. This formation is difficult to break, so first destroy his Dharma body. But immortal King Shura and immortal King 4 spirits are worthy of being experienced in hundreds of battles. They immediately saw the key to the problem, and without saying a word, they went towards Qin Hao to attack. After countless years of training in the Sea of Boundaries, their combat prowess it is indeed extremely amazing. With his own combat power, he has reached the level of Immortal Lord. But it is a pity that even if Qin Hao is a Dharma body now, he is definitely not something that the Shura Immortal King and the two can deal with. Crack! Dazzling lightning flashes. Qin Hao disappeared in the air in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Immortal King Shura. His speed was as fast as a ghost. Shura kills. The eyes of the Shura Immortal King shrank sharply, but he advanced instead of retreating. He sacrificed an ancient Immortal King weapon, and combined with the supreme killing secret technique, he wanted to kill Qin Hao. Poof! But the next moment, accompanied by blood, the light exploded, and most of Shura Immortal King's body was directly chopped into pieces. It was completely shattered, and his original vitality was directly annihilated. Die! At this critical moment, the four spirits Immortal King evolved into the four ancient beasts of Qinglong, White Tiger, Suzaku, and Suanwuo, and used the four spirits secret technique to attack them. This attack was enough to shatter a star field and destroy hundreds of millions of living beings. Robbed! Qin Hao sneered and pointed out in the air, 4 rays of fairy light whizzed past. In the blink of an eye, all 4 ancient beasts were crushed by the fairy light and turned into nothingness. The expression of the 4-spirit Immortal King changed slightly. The aura of the law was obviously a little messy, as if it had received an unclear backlash. Click. This momentary flaw revealed also put the 4 spirits Immortal King into a desperate situation. In a flash of lightning, Qin Hao controlled the power of the Immortal Killing Sword formation, and evolved an infinite. The Immortal Sword suddenly flew out of the air and slashed out. The Immortal King level defensive armor was shattered, and the 4 spirits Immortal King had no time to react, and his body and soul were extinguished. This scene made the other elder Immortal Kings suddenly change their expressions, and it was difficult to describe. A sense of fear emerged in their hearts, and they could not suppress it no matter what. Next, it's your turn. Qin Hao smiled coldly, took control of the Immortal Killing Sword formation, and immediately attacked and killed Immortal King Shura and others. A one-sided killing began. Qin Hao showed no mercy to these rebellious Immortal Kings. Wherever there was, everything was destroyed. Not long after, the more than 100 invading Immortal King giants were all buried in the killing array. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 284. After wiping out all the invading enemies, Qin Hao put away the Immortal Killing Sword formation and looked in the direction of Qinyu. From the soul refining just now, Qin Hao already knew the plans of Immortal King Shura and others. The side of Qiantiandao domain is the key direction for their attack. Judging from their plan and deployment, once the Qinyu Immortal Palace is trapped, the Qinyu Immortal Lord will fight alone, with no possibility of resistance. In the end, I am afraid that it will really alarm the Taixuan Immortal King who is in retreat and attacking the Imperial Realm. Thinking of this, Qin Hao did not hesitate and stepped onto the teleportation array to go to the realm of Qinyu. Although Qinyu Immortal Palace is blocked by a barrier, there is still a teleportation array that allows you to go to Qinyu realm, which is much faster than flying directly there. At this time, Qinyu Immortal Palace. The earth-shaking violent bombing sound resounded across the sky, allowing all creatures in the Qian domain to clearly perceive it. This naturally attracted the attention of countless giants of Immortal Kings and powerful true immortals, who immediately gathered there. But unfortunately, there is a magic formation that covers the sky. Even if they join forces to attack, they can't break through the magic formation. In the magic circle, with Qinyu Immortal Palace as the center, all the surrounding areas collapsed, and countless creatures were robbed and their souls were scattered. Even with the 6th palace trapped immortal formation, Qinyu Immortal Lord and others could not withstand that terrifying offensive. As the war became more and more fierce, Some of the giant immortal kings of Kinyu Immortal Palace escaped into the shattered void after nearly dying several times and being seriously injured. Such a situation will naturally double the pressure on the Kinyu Immortal, the Kunyu Immortal, and the Liu Immortal. But in this case, the three immortals of Kinyu didn't say anything. After all, even they were in a dangerous situation, and they would die if they didn't escape. Why struggle anymore? Tell me where Takeshuan Immortal King retreats. The Kylan Immortal King squeezed the ancient seal with his hand, used the Kylan treasure technique, and rushed towards the Kinyu Immortal Lord with a monstrous killing calamity. Poof, the blood exploded. The Kinyu Immortal Lord, who was already seriously injured, was severely injured by the law. Half of his arm was chopped off, and his blood and flesh were scattered everywhere. At the moment when Kylan Immortal King attacked, Huanquan Immortal King and Nine Swords Immortal King joined forces to attack with the supreme secret method. One move was to kill Kinyu Immortal Lord. Boom! Seeing that the Kinyu Immortal Lord was about to be killed, a boundless and majestic imperial power suddenly appeared from somewhere in the collapsed Kinyu Immortal Palace. At this moment, hundreds of millions of heaven and earth are in violent turmoil, and endless storms are shattered. The murderous Kylan Immortal King and other ancient giants all shrank their pupils sharply and froze on the spot, unable to hide the horror in their eyes. The law of the Emperor. A thought that made their souls tremble appeared in their minds. Even the most powerful Immortal King could not perceive the depth of such vast and boundless imperial power. There is no doubt that this is absolutely transcendent. The Immortal King level has reached the quasi-immortal Emperor level, and even the Supreme Immortal Emperor realm. Takeshuan Immortal King succeeded. The Kinyu Immortal Lord, who originally thought he couldn't even escape, showed a shocked surprise on his face. The Kunyu Immortal Lord and the Liu Immortal Lord, who were covered in blood, were also extremely excited. Emperor! In their fairyland, an emperor was finally born. This breath. At this moment, outside the sky-covering magic formation, a magic formation that broke through the air stopped. This person is Qin Hao's Dharma body that came from Dei Holy Land. As soon as he arrived, Qin Hao sensed the supreme law of the Emperor. This indeed transcends the Immortal King level and reaches the imperial realm laws of the Immortal Emperor. But Qin Hao faintly felt a trace of chaotic fluctuations in the laws of the imperial realm. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 285. Boom. With a pressure that could destroy the world, many immortal kings lost their strength in their legs and fell to the ground. The Kylan Immortal King watched helplessly as a bright light came from Dei Holy Land, and his body could not use any strength at all. Haha, Immortal King Takeshuan finally came out of seclusion. Although Immortal Lord Kinyu lost an arm in pain, he let the blood drip from the broken arm, but his eyes were always on the powerful figure not far away. Qin Hao watched Takeshuan Immortal King come out of seclusion smoothly. Zhu Xian killed the formation naturally retracted, leaving corpses all over the ground. I saw a faint golden halo around Takeshuan Immortal King's body. Although he did not carry any sword in his hand, just standing in the air was enough to frighten many immortal kings. Activity. While we are practicing in seclusion, there are still people who dare to take action without permission and will be killed without mercy. Kylan Immortal King raised his head and faced Takeshuan Immortal King, as if he was just a drop in the ocean and couldn't even think of resisting. Kylan Immortal King, what crime do you deserve? Taishian Immortal King stretched out his hand and shook it suddenly, and the space around Kylan Immortal King collapsed inch by inch, spreading towards Kylan Immortal King. At this time, Kylan Immortal King had been bound by the space, and his body could not make any defensive movements at all. Qin Hao turned his head and looked at the Kylan Immortal King, knowing in his heart that the Kylan Immortal King was definitely dead. Ah! A scream came from the mouth of the Kylan Immortal King. He forcibly summoned a fire Kylan and broke the space around him. I saw the fiery unicorn striding its forehoofs to the side of the Kylan Immortal King, and let the Kylan Immortal King sit on his back. They are just ants, do they still want to compete with the sun and the moon? Taishian Immortal King seemed not to see anything, letting the space collapse inch by inch. Before Kylan Immortal King ran a few steps, he found that Kylan had fallen to the ground gasping for breath. Looking down, Kylan's limbs had been covered by Taishian's body. The Immortal King was bound so that he could not move at all. At the same time, the space crack had arrived in front of the Kylan Immortal King. No. The Kylan Immortal King watched helplessly as his arm was sucked into the crack, and an unspeakable pain burst out. Before the Kylan Immortal King could scream, his body had been sucked into the crack. Immediately, the famous Kylan Immortal King in the Immortal Realm fell, and even his body was gone. Taishuan Immortal King saw that Kylan Immortal King had disappeared, and flicked hard at the limbs of the fiery Kylan with one hand. Immediately, the restraints on the fire Kylan's limbs disappeared, as if he had been given a new lease of life. Since you didn't kill anyone in the Immortal Realm just now, please always stay with me. Taishian Immortal King pointed to his left side. Qin Hao watched the fiery Kylan spread its forehoofs and ran to Taishian Immortal King's side. He immediately understood that the time for Qiu Ho to settle accounts has come. Taishian Immortal King saw such a tragic scene. Knowing that everyone must have tried their best just now. Otherwise, he would have no way to break through the laws of the Emperor's way, but Immortal King Taishuan has always hidden a message. Although Immortal King Taishuan has become the law of the Emperor's way, he has not yet, after suffering disasters, it cannot be regarded as the true law of the Emperor. The troubles in the Immortal Realm must be repaid with blood. Before the Taishuan Immortal King's voice dispersed, the Kinyu Immortal King had already begun to cheer and jump for joy. He knew in his heart that the immortal territory was determined. The next step would probably be the beginning of the disaster for those immortal kings, and none of them would be able to escape. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 286. Congratulations to Emperor Taishuan for taking the throne. All the immortal kings knelt on the ground one after another, all their eyes focused on Emperor Taishuan. Although Qin Hao possessed the immortal killing formation, he still couldn't resist in front of Emperor Taishuan, and slowly the body bent down. Emperor Taishuan saw everyone looking at him, smiled and waved his hand. We are all from the immortal realm, so you don't need so many courtesy. Qin Hao raised his head and glanced at Emperor Taishuan, and slowly walked out of the team. Emperor, many immortal kings have turned against us and taken action against us, how should we deal with them? Qin Hao has killed many rebellious immortal kings, so he naturally wanted Emperor Taishuan to give him a reason. Emperor Taishuan lowered his head and glanced at Qin Hao, and he immediately understood Qin Hao's thoughts. All the traitors must be knocked down from the killing array, and only then can the talented people come out of it. Emperor Taishuan announced his mission, and the immortal kings immediately obeyed. Qin Hao saw that Emperor Taishuan had understood the laws of the Emperor's way, and knew that they had gradually stabilized. Immortal Lord Kinyu was protecting the immortal realm, but his arm was cut off by the immortal King Kylan. I wonder if Emperor Taishuan can do anything about it? Kinyu Immortal Lord put one hand on the broken arm and walked out quickly. No, Emperor Taishuan is the master of our immortal territory, how can he take action because of a little immortal lord? Emperor Taishuan knew that they all had some merits, and of course he could not let them down. Emperor Taishuan immediately focused on Kylan, who was sitting down, smiled and waved his hand. Kylan is a divine beast of heaven and earth. I will cut off your arm to improve your memory. Just when Emperor Taishuan's voice fell, a ray of light emerged from Emperor Taishuan's fingertips and hit Qi directly. Kylan originally wanted to leave with 4 hooves, but found that his right arm had been broken on the ground. Qin Hao lowered his head and saw a wisp of flesh sprouting from Kailan's broken arm, and said with a chuckle, "You can practice with Emperor Taixuan for several years, and your broken arm will be reborn." At this time, the Kailan arm was already in the hands of Emperor Taixuan, but there was a touch of sadness on his face. Although the Kailan arm possesses very powerful power, it is a pity that Kinyu Immortal Master is currently unable to withstand the power brought by the Kailan arm. Qin Hao listened to Emperor Taixuan's words and knew that Emperor Taixuan needed someone to stand up and share his worries, otherwise he would not say anything in vain. Most of the other immortal kings were seriously injured, but Qin Hao slowly recovered from his injuries. The team came out. Emperor Taixuan watched Qin Hao walk out of the team, and silently threw the Kailan arm in front of Qin Hao. "You go to the Black Sea immediately and get a sea dinging pearl there." Although Qin Hao doesn't know what effect the Dingai Divine Pearl has, he knows that it must be related to the broken arm of Kinyu Immortal Lord. "I'll leave immediately." After saying that, Qin Hao walked out of the main hall. Seeing that Qin Hao was planning to go to the Black Sea, Kinyu Immortal Lord quickly walked out of the team. "Emperor Taixuan, the Immortal Realm has not yet stabilized, and we cannot be at odds with Black Sea for the time being." Emperor Taixuan laughed and stood up when he saw that the Immortal Lord Kinyu was thinking about the Immortal Realm wholeheartedly. "The Immortal Realm is protected by this Emperor. As long as you don't do anything too extreme, I can keep you safe and sound." The voice fell, and Emperor Taixuan slowly left towards the back of the hall. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 287. After traveling for days, Qin Hao has brought the Kailan arm to the area around the Black Sea. The Black Sea and the Immortal Realm can form an extremely sharp contrast. The Black Sea cannot see the sky all year round, and the environment inside is naturally a bit bad. The Black Sea is an endless sea area, and I don't know where to look for the sea-suppressing pearl. As the sound fell, the Black Sea opened a route to both sides, and several people wearing strange clothes came out. "I don't know why you came to our Black Sea. We don't welcome foreigners." Qin Hao glanced at the people in front of him and said with a smile, "Qin Hao from the Immortal Realm, I don't know if I can meet with you, the Lord of the Black Sea. We need your help with some things." When they saw Qin Hao coming from the Immortal Realm, they all focused on each other. The Black Sea is tens of thousands of kilometers away from the Immortal Realm, so I'm afraid what you need is rather embarrassing. In their opinion, an emperor has just appeared in the Immortal Domain, and he may want to attack them in the Black Sea. Qin Hao watched them keep blocking him, and quickly explained, "Please don't misunderstand me, I have no intention of attacking you." Although Qin Hao has explained it to them, they are not willing to listen to his explanation at all. "The Lord of the Black Sea is not inside, so you may have to change the time to come and have a look." They knew in their hearts that Qin Hao was not angry now, and they had to hide back in the Black Sea as soon as possible. Unfortunately, they had just summoned the root, and Qin Hao had already seen their intention. "Thanks for the guidance." Qin Hao saw that the road had appeared, and he went inside without giving them any chance. When Qin Hao just walked into the Black Sea, he discovered that there was a huge Suanwu lying inside. "Boy, why did you come to the Black Sea?" Suan Duweng said angrily. Qin Hao glanced at Suanwu in front of him and already saw that Suanwu's ability was superior to them. It was precisely because the Lord of the Black Sea was also Suanwu. Qin Hao quickly saluted and said, "See Qin Hao in the Immortal Realm." "Senior Suanwu, the Lord of the Black Sea." Suanwu saw that Qin Hao had recognized him, smiled and bowed his head. "Please stop complimenting me, just tell me what you have to say." Since Qin Hao didn't know what kind of character Suanwu was, he naturally could only say it in the most direct way. "I need to borrow your Jinhai Pearl now. I don't know what your requirements are." Qin Hao said while observing the reaction on Suanwu's face. When Qin Hao just said the Pearl of Jinhai, he could clearly see a look of solemnity on Suanwu's face. It seems that the pearl of Jinhai is the only product of their Black Sea. Naturally he would not be easily picked up by Qin Hao. Sure enough, Suanwu retracted his limbs into the turtle shell, and said with a sneer, "You want to take away our Jinhai pearl, you are so proud." It was precisely because Suanwu's voice amplified that he summoned all the other shrimp soldiers and crab generals next to him. See a visitor out. Suanwu retracted his head into the turtle shell, as if he didn't want to see Qin Hao again. And Qin Hao watched Suanwu retract his head, and immediately smiled at Suanwu and said, "Senior Suanwu, I can help you. To solve a problem in my heart, I wonder if I can borrow Jinhai's treasure." Suanwu, as the Lord of the Black Sea, of course is not easily inspired, and has always been hiding in the turtle shell.